we go. Well, hi everybody and welcome. It's Robb Evans here, your weight loss coach and health strategist. And I have a very, very special guest with me today, Vanessa Jane Patrick. How are you, Vanessa?
I'm doing amazingly well. Thanks, Rob. And you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Thank you. Now, Vanessa is a personality profiler. She's an international speaker. You're a trainer, you're a coach, and also, while I've got you on the call, a health and fitness enthusiast as well. So we wanted to really draw into your experience today, Vanessa, and find out how can we add some value to our listeners out there in this space of isolation, being motivated, about focus on your health and fitness and so forth. So firstly, tell me what has being in isolation meant for you, like professionally with what you do and also personally?
Well, it's been an interesting journey, actually. It's coming up to 4 weeks nearly that I'll have been completely by myself in this big, huge house. And it's been, I was actually having a joke with somebody the other day on a phone call, which was I actually feel more connected right now in my life than I usually do. And I was exploring that because during this time, I decided, what can I be doing differently? How can I be supporting people in the work that I'm doing with everything that's going on with this crazy pandemic? And I decided to just throw together a bit of an interview series, just some great connections that I have in my life. And you're one of the amazing people that I got to interview, and I'm still running those. I've got some great people coming up. And the whole concept was around self-connection in isolation.
Yes.
And so basically I broke that down into the fact that we need to have ways of connecting with ourselves during this time where we're not in our normal spheres of, being able to have human interaction and the normal connection that we have.
Yeah.
Also clarity, because at a time like this, if you just stay focused on the news or like what's wrong or what's missing or what you've lost, like you're not going to be in a very connected, fulfilled state of being. So we've got to have clarity over, what is it that we want? Something that will pull us through this time, and also challenging ourselves, not just sitting back on the couch and watching Netflix and eating a bunch of chocolate, which, sometimes that's called for, but, the other times we need to challenge ourselves during this time, sometimes more than ever. And being able to interview people who are really wise, who are really looking after every area of their life, and dive into their wisdom on those different areas and connect during this isolation. It's actually been amazing for me. And,
So do you think the fact that we have been forced to be isolated, has that then forced you to stop and say, actually, I've got to do something different here?
To be honest with you, my life hasn't changed all that much, my regular life, because I work from home, I run an online business. But what it has done is made me more conscious about how other people are reliant on habitual ways of being, and myself as well. It has woken me up because I can't go to my favorite F45 classes right now. I've had to transition that onto the online side of things.
Yep.
But it's been interesting just to know that we have these habitual ways of being that we don't even question, that put us in disconnection, and now we're being forced out of that and we're trying to find new ways of connecting. And I wouldn't have put together the series and gotten to bring people from across the globe together and talk about meaningful things had I just been in my everyday life as well. So yeah,
I think one of the things that I said to you in the interview that we did was about distraction. And the thing that I've known, I agree with everything you just said. It's made me more aware of what other people habits have been and so forth, because my life is like, I'm just as busy as ever because I'm used to working in my office at home and doing all that kind of stuff. So there's not really any change there for me, but it's made me realize that the routine of getting up and jumping in the car and going to work and being busy at work and then driving back home and whatever you're doing at lunchtime and so forth, we seem to, as humans, like to keep ourselves very busy, not really doing stuff, but distracting us from the heart of the real issues that are going on in our life, whether it be a relationship thing, whether it be with our health and fitness, whether it be with finances, whether it be with issues with the kids. And now we've been thrown straight into it in a big way because, like, I'm homeschooling my kids 3 days a week. And it's like, wow, you can look at the negative side of it, but on the other side of it is that I'm really getting to understand what it is that they're learning. I'm realizing how much we outsource the responsibility for raising our kids to others. And I get to connect with them more deeply now, which is a nice thing. So what's your perspective on, are we just normally distracted and now people are got more time to be undistracted?
Oh, great question, because I deal with a lot of people in my coaching who are trying to make transitions. They're realizing that there's a lack of fulfillment in their life, and they realize, like, okay, the path I'm on, it's not the right path. I need to discover what is. I need to make the transition. I need to take the action. And I feel like so many of us have had that experience where we know this isn't quite right. And now I look at this pandemic as from kind of a meta perspective, and I look at it and I go, you know what, the universe, because we haven't been making the changes that we've needed to readjust and evolve and move in a more meaningful direction, we've kind of had something like this have to happen to go, you know what, you know that change you didn't take action on, well, you're being forced to do it now, right?
Yeah,
You can't
right.
keep doing the same old thing. And I've had so many of my clients and people that I'm connected with who were like on the fence about leaving that job or that relationship or whatever. They're actually being forced out of those things, or to focus on those things when we look at relationship, and there were challenges and now they're in the home together, isolated together with no other expectations placed on them, and now they're finally doing the work. So it's interesting. I look at it from that perspective, and it's very interesting. Yeah.
And it is, there's so much opportunity that exists right now. Yes, it's all bad and we're being forced to, do things. I know you and I have spoken about like relatives that lived through the First, Second World Wars and what it would have been like then. And we're going through nothing compared to what they would have gone through. We're just isolating at home. We're not wondering whether our loved ones have been blown to pieces in another country, especially on a day of recording this on Anzac Day.
Yeah.
But I've lost my thought now.
It's an opportunity that we're doing.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And so, you could look at all the bad side of it, but there's also so much opportunity here. And I'm still allowed to work with one person outdoors in a public park. And if I'm down the road at the end of my street here in the park, and it's amazing to see the number of people that are out, either by themselves walking or walking with a dog, or it's a couple walking with, just out walking, or it's the family that's gone on a bike ride, or they're playing basketball down there, or they're doing something. And it kind of feels like we're stuck in a time warp, in a time before TV existed, and people have been forced to get out and do things and socialize differently because it's law. We have to do that now. But it's also nice, and being able to, like reconnect with the kids or connect, because we do have such busy lives, and I have such a busy schedule like you, that you just go. And this gives you a chance to just actually stop more, because you're not having to rush from one thing to the other, all their activities and that kind of stuff. It all happens from home. So it's, there's so much opportunity here. And then to think about, well, okay, I've always wanted to read, my family photo just fell over. I hope that's not an omen. I've always wanted to read that book, or I've always wanted to learn that language, or do that course, or whatever. Well, guess what? Now's your time to switch off Netflix or whatever and pick up that book and start reading it and start working on those things and stop being distracted by these other new things now. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us.
Oh my gosh, you've hit on so much, because, just this morning I opened up my emails and I saw an email from this place that I went to do a 10-day silent meditation retreat in the beautiful countryside of France back in October 2018. And I opened it up, And they're actually doing an online silent meditation retreat so you can do from home. And I'm like, this is amazing,
Yeah.
to be able to have, for me, I would have liked to have had, some of my books that I could contemplate, a little bit with, and, do my journaling, be in my own space. And I thought, I'm going to really do this. I'm going to do it at home. I'm going to do a juice cleanse, and I'm going to really look after, my body and my mind. And I know that having silence, cutting off from technology, other than, yes, I'll have to watch the live event or the recording, depending on when it's done. And I will, use that time to reconnect with myself so that I can get more inspired during this time. Because at the end of the day, when we're busy, habitual, running the same old pattern, we disconnect from ourselves, from what really matters, from our inspiration, and we end up forgetting why we're even doing what we're doing. And
Yes.
so to find strategies right now that can, like you said, get outdoors. Like, it's great. It's so nice to see everybody outdoors right now.
Yeah.
I love that. And, to just change it up and reconnect with nature, or, do some meditation, or read those books, like you said, or just use this time to ponder, like, who is it that I want to be at the end of this?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
There's so much to contemplate and for your own
Yeah.
benefit right now.
No, I hadn't planned this question, but this kind of leads on from this. One of the things that I'm sure you're noticing it too, it's probably been the last 7 or 8 days, I've noticed that there is so much content out there. Like that every second person is kind of doing what we're doing right now. There's webinars, there's, X, Y, Z event. And like, I probably follow, there's probably 4 or 5 people that I closely follow. And it's like, they're all pumping out stuff. And some of them are pumping it out every day or second day. I'm like, do you know what? If I listen to a 45-minute one here, and then a 30-minute here, and an hour there, and an hour and a half here, then I'm becoming distracted again. So I've gone through a stage right now where I'm kind of like, do you know what? I've worked out what's really important to me. And that means that I can't listen to these things right now because because I've got a varied number of interests, they can pull you in different directions. It's like, okay, I'll work on this one now, and then I'll work on this, and then I'll work on that. And it's like, no, I just need to just not do any of that and just do what I'm doing right now. And I've found that that's, so a good example is I'm redeveloping my main website at the moment, and it's taken a long time to go through it, but it's been a great exercise. And again, speaking of opportunity, if this pandemic hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have jumped into that because I'm too busy to be able to do it. But because I've had some time, it's like, okay. And then it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to turn that page. And it's like, oh, I haven't updated that for a while. And then you open that and then it's like, oh, yeah, that means I need to do that. And oh, that means I need to do this. And then it's like, well, actually, here's another opportunity right here. I've got an online opportunity for virtual streaming of my sessions right here, which I've never contemplated before. So how would you, or what would the tips that you would say to people? Because I'm sure everybody's inboxes and just stuff out there. How do people cut through this and still, not just use this as distraction rather than the drive to work and do all that other stuff? They're finding this other stuff as distraction now.
I actually just did a Facebook Live speaking of content creation on this exact topic just before we got on the call today. And it's actually all around spiritual bypass. So when I talk about spirituality, I'm not being religious in my terminology. I'm talking about being connected to something bigger than just yourself, having purpose and direction and inspiration in your life. And a lot of us are bypassing the work that we need to do through getting distracted with filling our minds being, content eaters, and we're getting all the knowledge, and it might feel like, wow, we're doing a great thing because today we're learning about this or that, and it's going to be healthy and helpful for us. But how much of that are you actually applying? And if you're showing up and you're consuming content or whatever every single day, just sit with yourself and go, you know what, I'm not going to consume another piece of content until I applied something of value from the last thing that I listened to or the last thing that I watched. Because this bypassing that we're doing from our own personal growth is disguised in these great ways, even consuming this content that we're creating right now. We want to make sure that anybody listening to something like this is actually going to take one golden nugget, make your time listening to this of value, whatever that is, and apply it. Because if we don't, you're wasting your time, you're distracting yourself, and that time could have been better used and spent working towards something that would move you in the direction of your inspiration or your passion or your purpose, or finding what the hell that is, rather than just consuming other people's purpose and their inspiration and not actually applying it.
Yeah, beautifully said. Before we end, we'll talk about how people can get in touch with you and find you on Facebook to dig that out,
Sure.
because that would be really valuable. This is really touching on those last two of the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins talks about, the growth and contribution. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, so Tony Robbins talks about there being 6 human needs, and the 4 of them, no matter what, I won't go through them all, but no matter who we are, we find a way, either empowering or disempowering, to meet those needs. But where we let ourselves down is we don't do the last 2, which is the growth and contribution. And so I think you've hit it right on the head there by saying that is a perfect way to be able to cut through all the distraction. And what's great about what you just said? It's not just for now. This is forever. It's like, that's how you start to get meaning and purpose in your life.
Yeah.
So that's really, really exciting. Well said. So I wanted to talk about some health and fitness stuff specifically. So you mentioned before, I wanted to get an understanding of what it is that you're doing now. Obviously, you were doing classes, so you're doing the online classes now. Is that really the only difference for you at the moment?
So pretty much, because my nutrition and my sleep and the way that I deal with stress, that's how I kind of break it down. So it's nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress. So that's pretty much the only real thing that's changed has been my exercise. And in a way, I was like pretty disheartened, because I love the energy of being in a group.
In a room.
Oh, I just love it. Particularly because I spent so many years of my life just training myself after I've had personal trainers, and just training myself in gyms. And you put your headphones in and you get into your zone. And I went through that whole stage of really, that was my thing. And I've transitioned now into, I want to be around other people working out and doing all this stuff. And F45 was just a really great option for me.
Yeah.
But the great thing is, although it's transitioned and now I'm doing it on my iPad and it's only body weight stuff, I'm having to just kind of find, pots around the garden.
What you can hold.
I want something. It was funny. I should have recorded what I did yesterday. But it's actually getting me outdoors more.
Yeah.
It's getting me out. It's a beautiful day right now. And normally 18 degrees might be a bit too chilly. But now I'm out there and, I'm in my PJ pants and a crop top, and I'm doing my F45. It's kind of fun, and, getting some fresh air and doing that stuff. So it's a good change, actually. It's ended up being.
Yeah, nice work. So prior to us recording, you'd mentioned to me that now you're in, like a really great zone. You're more focused than you have been before. So tell us a little bit about that, how you got to that place.
To me, it's about just having a system. So how I personally work best is, and how I get rid of any excuses, is I just have set things that I do every day without question. I just know that that's what I have to do. That's not like, if I feel like it today, or maybe 3 times a week and I don't feel like it today, so I'll put it off to tomorrow, and I've still got a few more days in the week. So for me, it's, no, I've got a system, I've got a structure. I know I wake up at the same time each day. I know this, as soon as I wake up, I meditate, because that's healthy for me. And I make it really easily attainable. Like, I'm not promising that I'm going to do an hour meditation every day. I literally do a 10-minute meditation every day. And then, and I have my F45 that I do every single day. And I have different things that I eat, and the different times I go to sleep. It's just like set structure.
You just hold. Fantastic. So what I did also want to ask you then is, my observation is this, and it's not just with your health and fitness, but um, there are some people that are just so successful in their health and fitness, and just, you know, they're at a whole other level. And like, you know, you're really focused right now. I'm super focused as well, more than ever before. But if we use global obesity statistics as a guide, we know that like 2/3 of the country here, to like almost 70%, I think, in the US, are overweight or obese. Now, there's health and there's obesity, because that 30% doesn't necessarily mean that they're healthy either. Why do you think only such a small portion of people in this space that's so important get it right, and most just not even get close, they're failing?
Mm-hmm. It all comes down to our hierarchy of values. You know, you and I highly value our health and our fitness, and other people value different things over and above that. It's not only that, but also a relationship with self. You know, the more that I'm in alignment with who I am and knowing who that is, and I'm really paying attention to that, the more I just want to look after myself and nurture myself and take care of myself on all levels. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of disconnection from self going on, and a lot of distractions. And what do we tend to do when we don't feel good within our lives because we're disconnected from ourselves? We
Yeah.
want to talk about the 6 human needs. You know, we want to create some comfort and certainty, so we'll go to some food, you know, and we'll just use that. And then we'll want to have high levels of significance and feel like we're special and we look good. So we'll then jump to, hey, we'll try and like out battle the food that I just ate or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's just, we create this havoc on ourselves through disconnection with the self.
So what do you think would be some good tips that you could give some people right now to say, okay, they might be in a few different places. One, they might be saying, I really should do something. I've never, you know, done anything before. There's those people that are saying, do you know what, I am going to come out fatter than this rather than fitter at the end of this virus. What are some tips that you think that people can do to right now to take them from where they are to where they want to get to?
There is nothing more empowering for somebody to uncover why they do what they do. And I really love why that you brought up the 6 human needs, because I will make an offer to everybody who listens to this, because I run an academy, the Limitless Potential Academy. And every month there's a new training. The very first training that people get access to is a deep dive on the 6 human needs, because it was the life changer for me. It started me on my personal development journey. I wouldn't be doing the work that I do right now without the work of Tony Robbins, and specifically around the 6 human needs.
Yeah.
So if people want access to that, it's, you know, an hour-long training. It has all the applicability, you know, the action sheets, and you can finally understand why it is that you say you want something and you do another, or or why you don't get the result that you're after, you know, and that is, for me personally, if you don't understand why you do what you do, like you're just going to go from this to that, and you're just going to run the whole cycle and the ups and downs and the roller coaster, rather than actually get your results and be that train on a track. So yeah, people want access to that, then I will waive the joining fee for anybody.
Awesome.
So that's $97. So yeah, they can reach out to me. We'll give them the details later.
Yeah, I'll pop the details under the link. That's an awesome offer, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, I'll put that under the video so that people can access that directly with you.
Yep.
And I mean, that's gold just there, what you said, because I find the same thing where I start to see people succeed. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, and when I first started my journey of coaching people, the first thing was it was results. And when my interpretation back then, we're talking 11 years ago, was I want to take you from, you know, if you were overweight and you came to me to lose weight, from overweight to being slim. That was it. That's how I measured my success, from basically photos here and here, and their words to say, this is what I did, blah, blah, blah. And then from there, it moved more to around the nutrition. I want people to be able to have this sustainable nutrition, not just get a result for now and then go back and do something else if they didn't work with me. I wanted to empower them so that they could get the result, understand why we do what we do, and maintain that. But what I would say now, over the last 2 years, I think my mind has now shifted. It's funny I use the word mind, but it's like, I want this to change. And when I'm talking to people and I can see that they've had this mind shift about lifestyle as opposed to the result, well, the result is embedded in there, but it's that lifestyle and that mindset change to why are you now where you are and why do you think the way that you do? Because when you get to that point, you will never go back. It's kind of like saying, I don't know whether have you ever smoked?
No.
No. Would you ever?
I mean, I tried a cigarette when I was at school being naughty or something, but no.
Yeah. So would you ever smoke?
No chance.
No. The same with me. I've never even had a puff. For me, the thought of it is disgusting. But for a smoker, it's like, oh, yeah, I love it. The giving up. Well, I'm not ready to give up yet. It's like, but whereas you and I think it's disgusting. So it's about finding that connection with somebody to say, okay, what does success look like for you? And, getting that trigger in your mind that, yeah, I get this. I understand that this is important for me, for my health, for my children, for me. And this is like you said about self. We don't often realize what it is that we want for ourselves. And I see this a lot with my female clients. They're always putting their kids, their partners, and everyone else ahead of them. Then they come to me and they're nowhere near where they want to be because they're nurturing everybody else and not nurturing the self part of them. So I think that piece of work that you suggested is an awesome gift that will really help connect people.
Yeah, and I want to give that gift because it is so empowering. It's life-changing. And we were talking just before this recording, and we were talking about how we don't want people to come to us and put us on a pedestal. We want to empower people, and that's how we do it. It comes down to this, and this has been what I'm living by in my life right now, 100% responsibility.
Yeah.
I am 100% responsible for my future. It's why recently I've had to leave a relationship that I knew wasn't right. I had to leave it because I took 100% responsibility for my own future, not waiting for somebody else to change for me to be okay.
Yeah.
I also get results. I'm the leanest and the fittest I've been, I feel, ever right now, sustainably that way. Because I'm taking 100% responsibility for my own health and fitness, and I'm doing that in every area of my life right now. And when you do that, when you take 100% responsibility, you'll go and learn what you need to learn. You'll understand why you do the things that you do, because you'll get guidance, you'll get coaches, you'll get support, and you won't be going to people like yourself with a reliance on them to just train me for this hour that I've got you, and then I won't take any responsibility for my life, and then I'll just come back to you tomorrow or in 3 days from now or whatever, because they're the people who aren't getting the results. You know, you've got to look at, if you're not getting the results that you want, your results are determined. They're in direct proportion to the amount of responsibility you're taking to attain them. So handballing responsibility is only going to, lead you down into a position where you're not empowered and you don't understand why, and you need somebody else to do the work for you, and they're never going to do it for you. So
and do you know what's interesting about in me asking you that question before? People might have been thinking, oh, well, you should be working out every day of the week, you should go for a walk, you should do some strength training, you should be eating this and this. And that's often what people think, but really what they need to be working on is up here.
Absolutely.
And really unpacking, uncovering, digging deep into who they really are and what's their purpose. And I know that can sound a bit wishy-washy for people, but I know for me personally, and I know from what you've told me, that it's not until you do this work, which can seem a little bit not sexy, because it can just sound, oh, well, I'd rather go do a workout.
Yeah.
But unless you, or when you uncover this,
Yeah.
that's when you become unstoppable. And that's where the gold is.
Yeah.
And I like listening to you speak there. I know that there'll be people listening to this and watching and saying, wow, how can I not be as great as you or as me? And it's like, well, would you say you're an overnight success?
Hell no.
Yeah, that's right. But people might say that, oh, I haven't seen her before. Wow, she must, she's so young. She's an overnight success. And people look at me and say, oh, wow. Yeah, gee, wow, look at you. How'd you do that? Somebody said to me, actually, just a couple of days ago. So I never thought I would be, this is me stepping well outside my comfort zone. I never thought I'd be that guy that takes the shirt off and shows the abs and stuff.
Yeah.
But now I'm becoming that guy. Now, why didn't I want to become that guy? Because I didn't think I ever could be that good and feel that good about my body. But anyway, so I posted like a 12-week progress photo, and one of my old clients said, how did you look? How did you get that result? And I felt like saying, working my butt off for 32 years, but really it came down to some specific changes here and then just some tweaking of what I did with my food to get that particular outcome. But we often discount, all of those years. And I know that you work hard on yourself every single day. You talk about, the 10 minutes of meditation and, doing your workouts and all those other things. This is about you conditioning yourself to be awesome and continue to have that mindset of mine is, how do I make myself a better person today than I was yesterday?
Yeah.
It's just a slight improvement. What can I improve? Maybe I did something wrong or, whatever. And I think that's what I want people to also get when they're listening to this. That's why doing that task that you're giving us as a gift is so, so important. Yeah. And one of the biggest gifts that I think I got from Tony was the first program that I really did from his was called The Ultimate Edge, but then I did the Personal Power 2. Yeah. And I was doing Personal Power 2. It's a 30-day program. And I was doing it and I thought, I don't understand why I'm doing this. And they didn't make sense for me, but I kept coming back to myself and saying, do you know what? This is the best person in the world that teaches this stuff. He has so many different success stories. If it worked for him and it's worked for these people, I'm going to have faith in the system and just do it. And I reckon I got to about day 10 or 11 and I went, now I know why I had to do that. Because now they connected for me. They didn't at the time. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing this, but I'll have a go. And if I did it now, it would be different. My responses would be different, but I didn't see how that piece of work led me to where I am right now. All of those things that I've used in the past, I've conditioned within me now to do what I do.
Absolutely. And I love that you shared that. And if I may offer just a bit of an example with this as well, because we can oftentimes look to our parents, or those role models that we've had growing up, and we can look at where our patterns have come from. And see, a funny example of this is the other day, I was having a conversation with my mum and I said, she's like, oh, what have you been up to or whatever? And I said, oh, I just had some beautiful, like my favorite type of chocolates, this dark chocolate. It's like a rum and raisin one. It's pretty naughty, but it's like delicious. And she's like, oh, Vanessa, that's so bad. And I said, you know what? Like, it's not actually, when I feel like that, I just have a little bit and I'm good. Yeah. And she said, oh no, I can't do that. If I have that, I have the whole block. And I'm like, I know, because I had that pattern too, because you gave it to me.
Yeah.
And what this work does is, my mum is nearly 70 years old and she's run this pattern her whole life. Yeah. I'm 32 years old and I let go of this pattern a while ago, and it's because I understood why I do what I do. If I have a mindset of I'm so strict and I never have anything bad and I always do everything perfectly, and then the moment I get an opportunity to have some of my favorite chocolate, I'm going to think to myself, you know what? This is all or nothing right now. Like, I'm not going to give myself this opportunity again. So I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to eat the entire block of it, and now I listen to my body. I trust its intelligence. I've come from the very strict bodybuilding mentality and feeling guilty about different things if it wasn't chicken and broccoli, and measuring everything. And, I know where that leads, and it's not a healthy mindset. So what I've done is I've understood my patterns of behavior. I've understood why I've gone in those directions, and by understanding, I've actually been able to make changes and shifts that create sustainability and balance that allow me to enjoy all the things that I love, but I do it in a way that, doesn't impact my results or my health or my mindset or my relationship with myself. So I think that's really important too, just as an example as to, how something like the Tony Robbins work around the 6 human needs and identifying why you do what you do can actually help you in the long term, so that you can stop being the person. My mum, she's super into her health and she's always studying the next thing in health, but then she falls off the bandwagon and then she has to get back on, and it's not sustainable. So you think about, if I could get my mum into more of the mindset side of things, like, we could make those shifts.
It's ironic, isn't it? Given the work that you do and how successful you are, that my mum was the same. I mean, both my parents have passed away, but one of the most unhealthy people that I knew.
No, my mum's super healthy, and I must give her some credit, because she's come a long way in terms of being the warrior, worrying about every little thing, and then realizing that, what I said to her one day, Mum, if you can change it, then maybe it's okay. Like, let's put some focus there and let's look at what your concern is. But if it's something that you can't change, why are you wasting all that energy? It's pointless.
Right.
And she's made some big changes with that. So I'm proud of her with that. But it's different little things that are going to support us.
I think one of the things that I've noticed is that, like, you don't know what you don't know about yourself until perhaps you're given a framework or some tools to work through. And then it's like when somebody says it, it's kind of a bit like the stars. We could pick out any horoscope right now and read it and say, oh yeah, that's me. This is kind of the same thing, where you find you've got this pathway that says, actually, you behave this way because you're this person or whatever. And there's no right or wrong. It's just that you're you, I'm me, and that's great.
Yeah.
But it's about you understanding you and what drives you and gets you that outcome that you want. Because let's face it, everybody wants a healthier body. They want a sexier body. They want to be more desirable, all that kind of stuff. It's like, so how do we find that pathway for people so that they can do it in a way that's sustainable for them? It's one of life's conundrums.
Yes, that's right. And I know we could go on forever, and I don't want to keep going down this rabbit hole, but just on that, making sure that why you want that healthy body, making sure that you're not attaching your self-worth and your value as a human being based on your external appearance. Because when we do that, you might end up looking like the best decorated fancy Easter egg, that's hollow on the inside. And anytime you fall off the wagon is, another emphasis on diminishing yourself, So I've come from being so focused on doing in the bodybuilding stuff because it was all aesthetics, but it was a way of proving that I was valuable. And, if then you fall off the wagon, you gain a kilo, you're not as valuable now. Like, so that's another reason why, if you understand why you do what you do, you empower yourself to make it sustainable and make it move you in the direction of a fulfilling life, not one where you're degrading yourself.
Yeah, beautifully said. So Vanessa, I want to thank you so much for today. It's been priceless as always. I know we can talk about many different topics for a long time. I'm going to put the links underneath this recording, but just again, what are the easiest ways for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, awesome. So if they can go to my Facebook page is where I have most everything happening. So if they just look me up, Vanessa Jane Patrick. And then Instagram is where I'm running these live interviews, and they're going on indefinitely, probably doing about 3 a week now. And they're just super amazing and amazing human beings coming on there. And my website is just vanessajanepatrick.com. So yeah.
Cool.
Hmm.
Cool. Fantastic. Well, thank you for giving up your some time for us today. It's been a pleasure as always. And look, I really look forward to the next time we get a chance to talk. And you have a great day.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, Rob, and love connecting with you, and hope people got some value from this. And yeah, like I said, I'll waive the joining fee. So I'll just figure that out. So maybe if people want to either just contact me,
Yeah.
and then I'll make that happen for them.
Maybe what we've been doing with some other people is maybe if they just private message you and
Yes.
say that
Perfect.
they listen to this podcast or recording,
Yep.
and we can deal with it that way.
Absolutely. That's perfect. All right.
Wonderful. Thanks, Vanessa. See you next time.
So welcome. All right. Bye.